Hello.
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 We are live.
Yes.
So
You
I
catch
see.
me snacking.
What are you eating?
Yes. I'm eating like gummy bears kind of thing.
Perfect.
I want.
Yes. How are you, everyone?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, great.
You
I'm fine. Yes.
eating gummy bears? You must be fine.
Yes, I must be so fine. Yeah. Um,
So
oh,
there's no chance of you returning to Berlin soon, then, Lucy.
mm, well, I've just been last until like 2 days ago. Kind of last minute organized a little rave.
That's what I
Like,
saw.
yeah, that
How
was
was that?
amazing. Like, it was like, I don't know, first time in 5 months, it felt like, yeah, an epiphany. So it's been like one of the most beautiful experiences in my artist life, to be honest.
Oh wow.
After so long, yeah. Um, but yeah, it was. It was.
What's
Oh, we
happening?
lost Joachim.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah,
There you
Surprise!
are. Are you having some issues, Joachim?
yeah, I'm having some issues. I hear everything twice, so I think I'm gonna check out and then
Oh,
come back.
Okay. But yeah, so we kind of
Just
last minute.
continue. I'll be back, okay?
Yeah, no worries.
yep.
Very last minute, I was like the day before the actual rave. Like I called this very good friend of mine, Remy, who has a very cool bike, very good sound system. Actually, like plays on a massive bike. And I was like, why don't we do something? And he was like, yeah, we can do an ambient set in a party and stuff. I was like, no, I mean techno, like a fucking rave, like. And we made it. It was amazing, really. It was the best idea ever. Like so spontaneous, so I don't know, out of any possible business dynamics, interest and stuff. It was just like pure, very pure experience, I gotta say. Yeah,
Perfect. It looked really nice, and I like the
it was.
monitors too. What type of speakers were you monitoring?
That is actually an Italian company. It's Loud and Professional, it's called. And they
With
are
the white
really,
tweeter.
really, yeah. They're really amazing, very directional, let's say. So let's say even if they're open air, you hear very good in this like kind of bell shape of an area, and outside is really like whoop, you know what I mean? It's
Okay.
really impressive. So very good to not be chased by the police, let's say. Police chased us anyway twice. So first we have to stop it in the park, and then we moved it to this very, very spacious. First, the park was like down south Neukölln, kind of. We managed to play for like 4 hours, I think, and then I invited Dasha Rush to join. Time that she arrived, I saw her arriving with a big smile. She's like, "I can't wait to play!" And behind her, like 5 cops. So I was like, "That's a game over." Yeah. And so we moved the whole thing to a big loft in Wedding. That was spacious enough to be able to keep social distancing, kind of. And we continue for another 2-3 hours, and there finally Dasha managed to play. We back to back. At some point, Adamix showed up. We started playing all together. It was a lot of fun. And then the police came again. Yeah, that time much more rageous and less soft than the first time. So yeah. Yes, but it was amazing. Yeah, it was really
Nice
amazing.
projects to do, to at least do something.
Yeah, man. It's like I don't know. Everything felt so easygoing. You know what I mean? And it was good. Like somehow, like in a way, we spoke about it in the last hangout. But I guess Joachim, it's like a constant theme like that. For now, we kind of lost our job as well, our income completely, because for years has been mainly based on gigging. You know what I mean? Like less and less on making music, or in any forms or shape. But I don't know, it felt so good to just be completely out of any kind of business-based dynamics, that it was just like so spontaneous, like 24 hours before deciding, 24 hours later, the rave going. It reminded me of when I was like 18, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the same, where it was like really, I don't know, it wasn't looking for, there's a good friend of mine, like a Rose, Seth, always says like, maybe it's good not to think about it as a job, you know what I mean? Like at all. And sometimes it's refreshing. I don't fully agree, but sometimes it's refreshing, really.
No, it's definitely a hard reset in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of different.
In a very, a lot of ways, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was beautiful. Yeah. So I just got back from Berlin, actually, like, I don't know, 24 hours ago. Now I'm here, Sicily, then I guess I want to do that again soon. So yes, yeah. And
Is the
you
flight smooth then with the virus and everything? No
flying was
problems
so weird, to be honest. That's a good question, because it was like the first time I flew since the lockdown started in March, And so at the beginning, I was like getting to the airport like 3 hours before. I don't know how the controls is gonna be crazy and stuff. Like it was like super smooth and easy going, which also surprised me, because to be honest, like, I mean, they really smacked entire economies down with crazy harsh rules. And then because the airlines are like too big to fail, they're like, yeah, well, that's fine. Like Ryanair can fly with completely packed flights, which makes absolutely no sense. You know what I mean? And so the flight was packed. There was no space between people. There was no central.
Oh my gosh.
It was like,
that's so
I was
contradicted.
like, is this fucking legal? Like, they're like, yeah, sure. Like, okay,
Yeah,
sure.
so
like,
weird.
Like, and I'm like, yeah. So why did you block the entire economy? Like, so many people are bankrupting, and then like Lufthansa, Ryanair, and big companies, they just they just find their agreements, and that's it. Like, I know I found it just absurd, to be honest. How smooth it was and easygoing. So yeah. Have you been flying since?
No flights at all.
No.
And I'm
Not yet.
driving to the. I have a thing in Dresden, but I'll drive. I'll try to drive more. And go,
Yeah. I see.
I actually also don't dare. Like if I have to go back home, it's like more than 24 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a long one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I want to, but
yeah. That's a very long haul. That's if there's something in the
Yeah.
plane, you will catch it.
right.
Yeah.
I thought it, and also just to have that mask the whole time, I think I will have like anxiety attack or something.
Yeah. But it was also, I don't know, this rave, to be honest, was also some kind of. It's not just a reset in the business sense of things. It was also like this feeling of like. I don't know, just a very basic experience of a loud system, you know what I mean? Like, of like the impact on your body. There was like, whoa, it felt like this, that's, that was already everything to it. Like the whole like selection, the DJ playing, how good it is and not, that was like really secondary, you know what I mean? Like, it was really, first of all, like, really that feeling of impact on your skin, that was like, wow, that's why we love it. Basically, that's why we love it.
I agree. I've done a couple of streams for promoters, as a replacement for parties that were cancelled and stuff. And of course, everybody knows it's surrogate or a poor version of the real thing. But that's really what is missing, the social aspect and the physical impact. There's no way you can recreate that in any other form. That's the physical presence, and the sound is
man.
It's not the same.
Absolutely not. No, it's not the same.
No, but to be honest, really, that's what I was thinking too. That it was like, while I was playing, I realized how differently I was playing than all the streams I did from home. You know what I mean? I'm like, I would have done this mix in this way in my place. You know what I mean? Like, it's Yeah.
So
People missing parties. Yes.
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 yeah, I see in the comments people showing up who
Yeah.
are missing the parties and the sound system.
Marcos,
Marcus.
hi.
But yeah, the good news is, Albert, I think you already mentioned it while I was gone. I kind of overheard it, but we are doing this gig on Friday, which is an audiovisual thing with people from Loomis, collective from Eindhoven, who do light installations. And I can't fucking wait to play in front of an audience, even though it's a very different thing from like full-on techno or loud music with dancing audience. It's not seated, but it's very spacious and people can wander around the installation. But still, there will be the energy and the interaction with people, which I really missed.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that Abbe.
Yeah, these are
Where
projects
is
that
it
are still
actually?
nice to do. Sorry?
Which part are you talking
Yeah,
about?
where is it?
It's at Lofi. It's a new location in Amsterdam.
Cool. Nice.
Oh, okay.
It
I
looks
thought
really
maybe it was
nice.
in the south, but
No.
That's so cool. Yeah.
It's it holds a lot of people. I think 1,200. This room, and we'll do 2 concerts of like maximum 200 people each, so they can walk around.
Yeah.
And the guys
Yeah.
have more space to set up their LED system, so it's different way of doing the same thing, I guess, and more abstract music, which I'm also doing a lot more abstract music and ambient and like unfunctional music, and I think that's very refreshing to try to take the functionality out of all the music that I was doing.
Yeah.
nice.
Did you feel, Albert, you were really subject to being functional in the music you were making before? Like even subconsciously, there was something that would tell you like you should do this in this way, kind of thing, when you were sitting down?
I guess so, a little bit, yes.
Yeah, like a silent voice kind of way.
Yeah, but maybe I would do all the music that I would like to do, but then if I would make an EP or together with a label or by myself, the order would always be from the most functional track and going to the least functional thing.
Yeah.
Which
How
is
about-
stupid.
Yeah.
actually.
No, I mean,
Not-
I wouldn't judge it so
Not
harshly.
stupid.
but-
It's just the way
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every label has to sell their minimum amount of copies to recoup.
Yeah.
You know? So, of course, you're gonna think about how how they are assembled, how a 12-inch or an album is assembled.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that is going to sell the copies.
I love when Joachim, which is half of Zeitgeber, together with me, says that it was like the most abstract album we ever did. But it was that's a funny contradiction, you know what I mean? Like that. It's like as a label owner, I know that, and at the same time, sometimes you are not in the mindset to do those thoughts, you know.
Of course. I'm not saying it's always true. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm only saying that there is there really does go some thought into it, you know, instead of
totally.
just randomly cutting or releasing every little thing you like because it just turned out as a nice piece of music.
Yeah.
You know, you have to think about how to assemble your releases. But for one of the things that I did was the Stoor project to prevent that, you know. But in most other cases, you have to think about that.
Yeah. How about you, Nadia? How do you feel about? Do you also feel that kind of voice when you produce music, when you make music?
Actually, I mostly like. Sorry. What did you say at the end?
Me? I was like, I don't think I said anything. No, I was just asking. We're hearing voices. No, I was just saying, like, if in the end, while you were producing, you had something like this present in your mind before this COVID thing, that you're like, I have to make music so that my fan base whatever, blah blah blah, so that promoters to see what I'm doing in a way or another. I don't know, any kind of, let's say, planning of that side of things. Do you think you have it when you make music?
Actually, no. I mostly, I always try every time. It's really funny because how I was in the music scene since the beginning, every time when I get pushed in a sort of direction, I feel like a sort of obligation to do that, and then I step back again because I don't like that feeling and that pressure. So every time when that happened, I started to do something else, and people were like, "Huh? Who is Nadia actually?" Because now she's doing techno, she's doing ambient and whatever. But I'm like, I just want to do whatever I feel like, and not like feel like I need to really like, it's hard, right? Because also you want to live from music in a way.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I truly believe that if you follow your dreams and your feelings, and if it's everything says like this is right, you should follow that. And so I never really had the feeling that I make music to be at a sort of label, and so and now I think I got still in the ambient flow. I still go doing that. So and it's actually for me a really great time in a way, because everything is slowing down and it's matching actually really the vibe I was on. So I felt a lot of people come towards the ambient and the chill out, and however I do miss like a proper techno party or whatever, just to let it out. And like I'm like, oh. So yeah.
Did you bring any gear to Sydney? So have you been able to do music there?
Yeah, that's quite funny actually, because the only thing I thought about when I thought like, okay, when I just move for a longer time somewhere, the only thing I need is actually my synths. So I just, as my luggage, I just got my synths, and I just packed a little bit of clothes. So when I arrived in Sydney, I couldn't find my bag and like my case. So I was like, oh no, this is everything I have, really.
No way.
And then yeah, so I was looking for an hour or so, and then they said like, because it's like a different size, and I dropped it all the way in the hallway. All my synths were there, and I was like, no, how can you do this? But I got it, and I think from the beginning I was here.
Was the equipment
I just made
fine? Was the equipment fine?
Yeah, it was fine,
Yeah,
gladly,
okay.
yeah, because there were also like a lot of old gear, and I was a bit like worried because like 24 hours somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I made a lot of music, like a lot, and I finished my new album, so I think that's a good thing to look forward to. So yeah.
It's gonna be the COVID album era in a few months, I think.
Right.
Oh yeah, man! Everybody is coming out with shitloads
It's
of stuff.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
You need to do something, right? It's like
yeah, totally.
Well, you need to do something, but at the same time, everybody I speak to somehow is doing things that they postponed for a long time because they were always too busy to do it. So this is the time to catch up on a lot of projects, a lot of ideas that you've always shelved or postponed. So yeah, it's I think most people I talk to are actually very productive. So yeah, there's going to be an explosion of releases and new music, which is great.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think there's just less distraction right now, because if you have like, I find it pretty hard, like combining DJing and live, and then also making music, and you want to do it all in a proper way and give the right attention. I just caught up with too much, and like, so this is actually a pretty good time to just like, okay, I'm just play around, you know. So I don't know how is that with you, Albert? Are you now more improvising?
Yeah, I guess there's even more rules out of the window than there were before. Although at moments there always was, but now now I have like 20 or 25 tracks that are the BPMs are all over the place, and the compositions are also all over the place, and it's a lot more going into texture of sound. So my new thing is completely about texture. So nothing is really important anymore except the texture of something. And that's something that's also nice that you can take the time to dive into these things. And also for me, doing music is very therapeutic. So if I feel a bit bad, so it's like so it's nice to work on music also as a healing thing, which you probably get.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's
Totally.
a question from our colleague and friend, Mr. Sven Wittekind. He says, I missed the club testing while those massive production. I think he means testing your productions in clubs.
Yeah.
I don't personally do that, to be honest. But do any of you?
Me neither.
When you're producing something and you take it out on the road to see how it sounds in the club?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
I have a friend
Well,
with a big
I
sound
must-
system showroom, so I could go there if I want and test it on a festival set if I like.
Uh-huh.
I don't do that on purpose. I did it recently just also because I'm doing workshops, so the guys could hear their tracks on a really big PA.
Yeah.
Just because he has it, but I wouldn't go there myself to listen to it.
I never did that.
I always
sorry. Go, Nadia.
Oh no. I'm like, I think we also have a little bit delay.
Yeah,
so.
there's some delay. You're far away.
Yeah, it's true. I think I always tested on like different kind of sound systems, and in the beginning when I started music, I always started to listen it in the car because it's the most crappy sound system ever, and I thought like, okay, if it sounds a bit right here, then it must be on other sound systems as well. So I think actually a bit the other way around.
Yeah,
I always think that there's just no club that sounds the same, and you can kind of get the idea how it relates to other tracks when you play your own production in a club, but it still doesn't say a lot about it, because even though you know the sound system in a certain club well because you played there multiple times, it's still not a guarantee that it's gonna sound good in any other club. So it's for me, I'd rather judge it on, like you said, in a car or on headphones or speakers you know really well to judge it.
absolutely.
Okay, somebody says that your volume is pretty like low, Jochen.
Mine?
Yeah,
I
it
think
is
I can get
softer
louder.
actually.
What about now? Is it the same?
Maybe.
I hear you pretty good, but
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, well, I'll try to lean into the mic a little bit more then.
Hello.
That's a big difference. Roar, 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 roar.
Or we can all talk softer, so we equalize it.
All to the back now.
Yes. Does the club vibe be depend upon the? That's a good question. Can someone highlight it? How does it work?
Oops.
Yes.
No, this one.
Yes. Depend upon the people that are in that particular club.
Question from Synchrotron. I recognize him from the Discord server. Hello, what's up?
Hello.
Synchrotron.
No, I don't think it depends upon the people. I think it depends a lot about the actual physical space. That's hugely important in a club setting. Depends on the sound system tuning and calibration a lot as well. And then a lot of the work of the promoters is to fill it with the right vibe that needs to be there, let's say. But let's say I always find that the physical space is hugely important, in my opinion.
I always
Like,
have the feeling that the people are a big part of the total vibe. Maybe sometimes a sound system can be not that great somewhere, but the vibe is still so um, on
yeah.
somehow that it makes up for the not perfect acoustics or the sound system.
To be honest, Albert, I was talking more, see if you understand what I mean. I was more talking about not so much if the system was good or bad, but if it's like, I don't know, tuned like very bassy or not, or very like, I don't know. If you hear how a normal concert band venue is tuned, is really like about like this mid-high, very important range with like made for guitars and voice. It's really, you know what I mean. And to me, when you happen to play in those kind of settings, for example, in some festivals, so there's like quick changeovers between like bands and DJs and stuff like this. I always find it like a complete vibe killer when I have those kind of systems. You know what I mean? So you can have a shit system, but it can be like 7 shit subs, but there are 7 subs. You know what I mean? Like it will already give a much better, I don't know, impact, at least for the stuff I like to play, let's say. But I don't know. I always find it like, let's say that the people is like just like the final cherry. Like after, I mean,
I see.
Joachim, you had the experience of like running a club for a little bit, no? Like how was it for you there? Like, did you also feel like the people were really the last bit, or like from the beginning they were like a super important part of the vibe?
I kind of touched upon that earlier when I talked about the streams, but to be honest, what we do is it is very much a social experience, and I think the people experiencing something together is probably the main thing why people go to clubs. And of course, the sound system and the setting and the way it looks and the lights and everything is part of it as well. But like we've seen now with all the streams with no people in clubs, it's clearly that is the thing that is missing. And you can have a really nice or really amazing party, to be honest, with in some field or in the woods with a crappy sound system and 100 people that are really into it. So I think the social experience is probably the most important factor in the vibe, or whatever vibe is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we talk about sound, some sound system can be vibey because they produce an intimate sound which reaches people in a very direct way, and the sound can sort of engulf you, or can sort of be all around you and still not too loud and not too quiet. You can talk to people, or you can sort of move around in the room and still have different experiences in the room depending on where you stand, according to the PA. Or and so yes, sound can be vibey, as well as it can be very cold and very distant and not reaching you. But I don't think that is the main thing. I think the main thing is still the social experience. I think. Anyway.
Did you have experience running a club? Did
Me?
Lucy just say that? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, briefly, but yeah, of course, you try to create a space which has all the elements to become something with a lot of vibe once people go in there. But still, it's for the people, It's that's the main thing you do it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what was written there. Minimum of 7 sub when booking Lucy. It would
Yeah,
be my
so
new
it's-
roster.
Where is that?
It was in the comments.
I'm gonna add it to my fucking tech rider. Yes.
Minimum 7 subs.
7 crappy subs.
And a lot of
Oh, yeah.
crowd.
And a lot of crap.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I do like good sound systems, and
Oh yeah,
I
we all
usually
know
I
that,
don't
man.
know who it said, but there is, I think it was some legendary old New York DJ who said, maybe it was Kevorkian, but I'm not sure. Who said, imagine the ideal club sound system, and if you ask yourself what do you need to have a good club sound system, it's like imagine the best sound system and multiply it by 2.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
one thing you can never have enough of, and it's
No, really.
speakers
Yeah.
and subs and everything. But yeah, the more speakers are gonna point at you, the better it's gonna sound. You know, and some people will disagree with me, but it's an old school way of thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, there are really technically perfect sound systems, but the ones that are you can never tell in advance what sound system is gonna sound good in what room.
Totally.
There's a whole
No.
lot of factors important. Acoustics, tuning, the
Yeah.
amount of people in the room. There's so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to really crappy Function One setups in like tiled rooms. It's really hard to dial in, I guess, if you're not very
Function
familiar
1 is a
with
very
that.
sensitive system. Yeah, it needs to
Definitely.
be. Yeah.
If it's not well calibrated, it sounds like shit. Function One. It's not
Yeah.
that there's like I know that there's so much myth about it that it's like I got a Function One in my club. That doesn't mean at all it's gonna sound good, man.
Exactly.
Really,
No.
it's not. It's really
No.
not like that. At all. Like I find on that level that what is it called? Come on, the one they have in Munich at Blitz.
Void.
Yeah,
Void? No.
the void. What do you remember? Which void? What is it called? It has this super cool name, like whatever,
Yes,
like a mega killer,
Incubus. Yeah.
Incubus or something like that. Mega killer. Yeah, Incubus is. I find it a much easier system. That is like much more often. I found it in clubs, and they almost all the time sounds amazing, differently than a Function One, to be honest. But a Function One, and when it's well calibrated, it's pretty like
Well,
wow.
but the Function 1 was mainly designed as an open air sound system.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's really not anything to say about it. You can have endless discussions about these things, but it's definitely true that sometimes all the factors are falling into place, and there is amazing sound in a certain room, and but it doesn't really depend on brands or
Yeah,
anything.
totally.
Yeah.
There's a question that says, why were Function One so popular? Like, does anyone knows when do they get so popular?
Marketing,
No,
I guess.
actually, yeah.
I have no
maybe.
idea, but I don't even know about the story. I mean, I know that of course, like the fame of Berghain at some point made
Maybe
Function
that's
One
the-
really huge as well. But this is what I can remember. I don't know before that, to be honest. Yeah.
I also remember only that actually, and
Yeah.
then everybody was like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah, Function
But this
One.
Tony Andrews had a big history in doing also large festivals, also rock festivals. I think maybe already in the 70s. So I think he made name for himself before he started Function One.
Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
Turbo Sound and Function 1 are the same people.
Ah, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Is it? I had no idea.
me too.
Yeah, Tony Andrews and John Newsham, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe people in the chat can expand on that or elaborate on that. But
Yes.
I believe they're the same designers for Function 1 and
Yeah. It's funny,
Turbo
the
Sound.
question by Stoor itself that says, think Berghain might
Yeah.
have been a bigger impact than that. It's funny because I speak as a Berliner, Stoor speaks as a Dutch. So I guess we have different perceptions because of the places where we saw it happening with Function One, you know? Yeah. It's just, yeah. Joachim, could you answer that about what's the best sound system you remember in a club?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, well, I mean, we talked about Berghain. The thing is with Berghain, you really need to practice in that room.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, it's like some people give you hand over the keys for a Ferrari, and they say, here, you drive. You know what I mean? It's like once you've broken the car and really master it, you can take the sharpest turns and make fucking crazy movements with it. But that's not what happens if you if you drive it for the first time. You might fucking crash it. You know what I mean? So and that's true for both. It's a very, very capable system. It's a really, really capable system. But I hear a lot of people overdo it in that room. To be honest, it sounds better if it's just under the limit. Anyway, but that's I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the sound system at IFZ is really great. It's
amazing. Yeah.
and also this
Ah,
Object
for-
Klein club in
Yeah, as well.
Dresden, but they have all the bass bins on one wall, and I think that idea of having all the bass, so you're using the wall itself as a sub bass like reflector or something. I really like that idea. I don't know what sound system it is. I don't know, maybe it's also Kirsch audio like they have in IFZ.
Yeah,
I
IFZ
think it sounds really great.
For the people that don't know that, it's Institut für Zukunft. Yeah.
Great club.
So yeah, and actually I find it quite true what someone Ektoho is saying, that it's bad for jungle and softer beats, because I remember thinking the same during the what was it, the name of this kind of early underground dubstep nights in Bergen? What was the name? They were run by Scuba.
Not a hard one.
I can't remember, but anyway, for like 3 or 4 years, there's been this really cool party and stuff. But I remember going there, and I'm like, this kind of Burriesque thing sounds much better in a Substance. There you go. Substance was the party, and I was loving the party. One of the most amazing lineups I've seen. It was always at this one, but. I remember also that a lot of the people I was seeing there, when I was happening to see them at Forward in London, it was really, that is sometimes like a place is really calibrated for somehow a way of playing or a style. I don't know. It's yeah.
Like playing techno on a dub sound system.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine to play really like modern, like high-paced techno on a mono wall of sound, that is calibrated for like Lee Perry shit. You know what I mean? Like, like that would be a little bit muddy, for sure. You know what I mean?
But it looks so nice.
We're talking about sound systems and only touching up on club sound systems for techno. Really, that's all we're talking about now. But there are so many other sound systems. Like, I know you played maybe more than just you, but Luca on the 4D sound system.
Yeah,
it's a completely different approach. Completely different approach to
totally
sound. Yeah.
You none of you did that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Because I remember I have a long story with the 4D sound system, meaning like I played it the first time when it was still a prototype in Amsterdam before it got moved to Berlin. Then that sound system was moved to Berlin, or like was sold to somewhere else, and then in Berlin they built an exact copy. I don't remember what was the story. You should ask Zach DVS1 about it. He's responsible for the Berlin one. But it's great because already when it was like 9 years ago in Amsterdam, it was absolutely unbelievable. Like this kind of spatial sense of sound. It just like it is engineered in a way that is not describable like a normal, very sophisticated surround. You know what I mean? It's really another reality experience, to be honest. Like the feeling of like trespassing quite precise layers of sound when you walk. It's like, it's like really impressive, I gotta say. And it took a long time, but also the last time I played was just a few months ago. We did 10 years anniversary party of Stroboscopic on the 4D sound system in Berlin. And that was unbelievable. Like 10 years later, the level of implementation, because a sound system like this needs also its own interface, like it's not that you just play random stuff on that sound system. You create something with those tools that are made for that system. That's how you use the system, So it's kind of a concept sound system. As Jochen says, like this is also another example of different ways of thinking about what is a sound source, you know what I mean?
I would love to do that.
Yeah, you should definitely,
4D.
Nadia.
It would be so cool, like all the elements you can place everywhere, and I think the vibe will be so different.
Oh, also for the stuff you do, I'm sure you would have so much fun there, like for the kind of shit you produce as well.
Yeah, it would definitely be up your street, and also really
definitely
fitting your music for sure.
Fitting your music, fitting your profile.
So people who are listening from 4D, get Nadia over.
Yeah, get Nadia book. Come on.
Yeah.
I think I saw Ena there with Felix K, and it felt like the room was moving because of the sound. They could move the sound through the space, so it felt like the whole room was like moving through space.
Were you in the Berlin one or in the Amsterdam one?
In Berlin.
In Monom, it's cool. Yeah. At Funkhaus, cool. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Felix K, one of my favorite producers, by the way. Yeah, amazing.
Agreed.
How does it affect the approach of making the music for it? Because you can't really listen to the end result until you get there, right?
I mean, you listen really piece by piece, to be honest. Like the way because I know like so many artists approach it in many, many different ways. But like the last one I did, the first one was pretty special because I took like someone that was like practicing pranayama, like deep breathing, and I used like contact mics on different parts of the body and stuff like this. And the idea was like to amplify her experience. There was like very inner one with like very soft breathing techniques and stuff, and make it so that you could experience it in the whole room in different ways. So you can do that, and you can really do that.
That's so awesome.
While the last time, now when it was like this year for the Stroboscopic Artifacts anniversary, it was like more on the like actual music production. And the way you can approach it, Jochen, you can imagine it as a very visual sound experience, meaning like I was thinking like, okay, I want this thing to start like spiraling up from the center of the room and starting going into a fountain at the end. And you can do it, you know what I mean? And sometimes the movement can be so complex that you need like two engineers from them to help you out to get into what you want, you know what I mean? It's not super obvious, let's say. Also because you need to have a very, I don't know, 4-dimensional 3D mind, really, because it's like and almost a mathematical mind, like they thinks really in terms of like coordinates and time, you know what I mean? So it's like, you tell them like, I would like to do the sound of, like to have this movement. And they're like, okay, so what do you think we make this calculation? Because X and Y should be this so that it can turn at this speed. You know what I mean? Like it's a serious engineering job. You know what I mean? Like
I get so happy when I hear this because I think like sometimes like a lot of sound systems in clubs, it's for me so limited. Like it's like I need more like more experience. So I think, and even like the technical part of like really placing the sounds, I think that's such a cool job. Like must be really nice.
Yeah, it is.
But how is it like? Is it like if you work in Ableton, you can just like work on that workflow, or is it a special program?
No, it is still based on Ableton. So they chose Ableton as kind of a main structural interface, and then I guess it's a lot of Max MSP devices, to be honest, that they use. Plus, they built like I think they kind of modified Ableton quite a bit. They made it like in a very custom set way that because it's once again it's extremely complicated. Like there are like an insane amount of different channels, and it's like you got to spend quite a few days there just to start to orientate yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and then then you can start getting your ideas straight. But I think the most the coolest way to approach it is to go like fresh, not having done anything before, and working on the system really. Like if you have the time to do that, that's so much fun. Like, yeah.
That's cool. Oh, there was. I think there was like. Oh, I just checked his comments, but I think also Max Cooper did it, right? That he had like
Max
a sort
Cooper,
of.
he did it
Right?
quite a few times too. Like I think he
that was
is
pretty
one
cool.
of the aficionados of the 4D system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Jochen, or any of you, did you ever do any special like kind of because someone was mentioning like this Ruben Hulsebosch was mentioning the Kraftwerk 3D concert. I've never seen this, nor have ever done something like that. Any of you?
Didn't see this show. No.
No.
I did see Kraftwerk a few times, but not the 3D show. No.
Yeah.
Did you?
No. I was asking because I'm curious. Like, actually, Ruben, if you're still listening, tell us something about it, because I'm curious what 3D means. You know what I mean? Like in terms of a concert. You know, like is it just a visual side of things, or is it the sound thing? I never catched it, to be honest. These three, because they are not the only act that did this. I think also
it was
Massive
not
Attack.
I think it was only the visuals that were 3D.
Ah,
I think it wasn't the sound.
Yeah.
Robert
I see.
Henke did have a set that he played, which was around, in basic, like only 4 or 5 points. And he could just route that with his standard sound card. And I think that's also already an interesting idea, that you just, it's just one step up from stereo.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I did a bunch of 5.1 shows. And
you did 5.1 show.
Yeah, I did a DVD about 10 years ago, which was 5.1 only, called Umfeld, and it was just before the time when 5.1 became a little bit more common in DAWs. So by the time I finished, there were all these tools that I could have used producing it, but I had to kind of hack them together myself at the time. But the problem then was much unlike the 4D sound system, which is set up for people to walk around in, and it has a very unique experience wherever you stand. But I did it in mostly concert halls or even galleries where people were seated, but it was always a problem to get as many people as possible in the sweet spot, because that's where you have to deal with. There is really only one sweet spot. And with the 4D sound system, there are multiple places where you can kind of have a very profound experience. But with 5.1, which is basically 4 channel plus a bass channel, so in effect, it's 5 channels plus a bass channel. So in effect, it is almost the same as quadraphonic. It's not really a format that is designed for public spaces. It's more for consumer electronics to experience.
So like kind of home cinema thing. Like.
Yeah, exactly. And the center channel is then usually only for speech or for, to give a slightly extra dimension in the stereo field. But I would say 5.1 and quadraphonic sound is more or less the same in a big space. I've also done a few shows in the Recombinant Media Labs in San Francisco, when it was still existing, and that had if I remember well, 8.2 sound systems, or 0.32 trend. Yeah, the 0.32 at the end was for the 32 transducers in the floor, which started to vibrate very violently on everything under 20 hertz or something. I don't know, or anything. It was the most pronounced multi-channel audio system I've ever heard. The room was completely treated and only held about maybe 100 people, maybe even less.
Wow.
The system was set up by a Dutch guy, Edwin van der Heijden, who's a
He
very
was a teacher
well-known.
of mine.
Yeah, he's a very well-known artist in Holland who does laser shows and sonic installations and stuff. But he set up the sound system in that room, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And also the visuals, they had surround visuals, which was basically one screen surrounding you, so it was uninterrupted, and everything was tuned so pristine. No crazy edges or tilted things. It was absolutely rock solid and straight. And anyway, that was a very intense experience because it was loud and still very pronounced, and the spatiality in that room is just absolutely insane.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It doesn't exist anymore, but it was.
It doesn't.
Yeah. No. But I think it's one of the most well-tuned rooms I've ever been and ever heard music in.
Also this Alex is saying that the Crafter 3D was only visual thing. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, but I don't know. There is still like a part of me that is very fascinated by kind of there was always also my own doubt when I was invited to work on 4D. It was like something that I really wanted to do, like to experiment it, but at the same time, I've always been fascinated not to use too much cutting edge technology and still make something wow. Like it's a little bit like when I have that experience listening to another artist. I don't know. I remember like Outtaker live in Berghain has been one of the craziest shit I've seen in my life, and it was like they simply turned the whole place pitch dark. Like I couldn't see my friends like 20 centimeters away, you know? We're speaking about times where no social distancing was required. But it was absolutely mental to be so sensorily deprived that just the normal, I mean, Outtaker sound banging on the speakers for like a good 1.5 hours was just like, I don't know, it was really like taking the strongest LSD of your life, like really. It's,
was it, did you say it was Outtaker, right?
Yeah, Outtaker.
Yeah, I saw the same. It was so amazing. Yeah,
it was
really
crazy.
Great. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It was so sometimes it's really like, you know, when you feel like that, you're like, you know, that was one very simple idea, like darkness that everyone in the club scene can relate. It's so simple. It's simply turn everything off, like you know what I mean. And
so
the experience is like beyond. You know what I mean. Sometimes I really like those. Very simple intuitions, you know what I mean? Like, which I think somehow, I don't know why, but I always have the feeling that it's like something that rarely comes from newer generations of artists, and it's something that it was like kind of common knowledge for like more old school people that did their story in the early 90s. I don't know why is that, but I always found this, you know what I mean, which is also somehow one of the reasons I always respected so much Joachim's work, you know what I mean, that it's like this kind of I don't even know if you are aware of it, Joachim and company, you know what I mean, like,
what are you talking about?
It's like this kind of how can I express it, like a basic primary expression of ideas, you know what I mean, that is like so immediate, so somehow obvious when it's really not, you know what I mean. It's like when you hear, coming back at Outtaker example, when you hear Amber, you know, it's the kind of album that is like, one, of course, it's endless. I think it's one of the pieces of music I listen more often in my whole life, like, but it's so it's quite easy going when you listen. Like the tunes are really chromatic. The beats are fairly simple. You know what I mean? It's just like something that is so magical that you're like, I could have done this, and actually not, because it's like this is the kind of immediacy I'm trying to speak about, Joachim, and it's something that I think I'm thinking about it now, because these are really reset times for our scene. You know what I mean? Where pretty much the business has been completely decapitated. I have a little bit this kind of thoughts, like, is there a way maybe to go to that kind of place of I don't want to call it purity, because I don't want it sound like kind of romantic of a better past, but I'm just saying, like, maybe there has been so much going on in terms of like business efforts in the last like 10-15 years for people to really having to push themselves so hard through promotion agencies and be seen and stuff like this, that it's like there is like a big chunk of this like primary basic idea that I was missing a lot, you know what I mean? And that I was finding when I was like looking back at like what was done way earlier, at least in our scene, you know.
I think people
the thing
idolize.
is what...
Oh, sorry, Nadia,
Oh,
go.
Yeah.
okay.
Nadia, I'm sorry, but it's because you have a little delay that it sounds like
right?
the three boys in this chat try to always cut you down, but it's actually just the delay. Trust me. Yes.
Yeah. I see it a bit like as like creating a track, right? Because if you put so much in it, like so much energy, it's like overruling everything. And I think that's what's happening the last years. We try to put so much stuff in everything, and like because we want to overrule everything, and then it becomes just too much, you know. And I think now we get to see again, like, hey, oh shit, we went way too far, you know. If we do a couple of step back, then the quality will show again. And I think it was just too, for my feeling, it was just so much. It was just so much going on, and I don't know. I just think it's in a way it's like a good time for that, to reflect a bit, like what is it about, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the music is all it is an expression, right? So if you have a very clearly articulate expression of an idea, it's gonna stand the test of time, or it's going to come across a lot clearer than when you overcomplicate things and put too many ideas into one piece. So, you know, I always stick to just one thing. That's all it is. And at the same time, Lucy, when you touched upon that earlier times, 90s and stuff, I think that time is completely idolized by people at the moment. Because at the time it was all new and nobody had any fucking clue what they were doing. And because there was so little of it, everything you did, every record you made or released, was something completely unlike anything else anybody that had ever heard. So, you know, in that sense, people were just making use of this newfound way of expressing themselves, and a culture came along with it. You know, the dance culture, early 90s, blah blah blah. But right now, it's totally idolized. It was just people fucking around in their bedrooms in small studios, and that's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And things were simpler, you know. The set of equipment was very basic and very simple, and I think that's something I actually still try to do. Just keep things simple, you know.
Yeah. It's so good.
and just focus on the idea rather than trying to imagine what else is possible. Just go with the moment and try to capture it. That's all it is.
Yeah, which is exactly what I feel like is a big contradiction about, like for example, Eurorack systems, like modular systems. You know,
Well,
like
that's the
on what?
thing. I agree. That is one of the things you can get
Yeah,
completely lost in,
yeah,
but you can also just restrict yourself. This has been something that has
exactly.
come up in this talk many times.
Yeah,
You know,
that's exactly what
technical possibilities, limitless,
yeah.
and trying to limit yourself
Mm-mm.
to just a very focused palette of instruments to make sure you don't get lost in the zillions of possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably do. With all the gear you have there. It's like,
Here,
yeah, that you can get lost in all that stuff. But
well,
it's
I
so
mean,
good to just take one thing and like,
well,
Mm.
you've been here, you know. It's that's not
uh,
the way it goes here. You know, it's always you grab a couple of pieces and make a very simple system, and therefore have very much control over what you're doing.
Mm.
Um,
uh,
and it's very direct from yeah, the mood of the people who are in the studio to um, the translation into a piece of work. But there's never really any endless manual reading or testing things going on here. It's just grab a piece of gear and connect it, make it part of the chain and go,
Yeah.
right?
so good.
Yeah, because Nadia, to be honest, when you said like with all of those gears, every time I worked intensively with Joachim, the deal is always the same. We pick up like some machines, we put them on the table, and in the end, you stick to those. It's not that
Yeah.
we, like, to be honest, like I remember sessions of like 12, 13 hours with Joachim, with just like an ARP, maybe SH101, like, and one or two drum machines. Stop.
Mm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
literally 13 hours. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and still going for like new ideas and stuff. So it's yeah, that sense of discipline. Let's say it's almost like a
Yeah,
discipline, really.
it
Like
is.
yeah,
Yeah, but
I noticed that.
don't forget these all these instruments have such a massive range.
yeah, totally.
Even with
Even
Yeah,
effects, you know, you can
yeah.
just put an effect and it sounds different. Like
Mm.
it's
yeah,
already,
yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yes.
I
I
think it's
noticed
nice to
that now
get this.
too. No, you speak, please.
Go.
I think
Go
it's
for
nice
it.
to get all this technique also out of the way in a way, especially these times. It's nice to even while you're making electronic music to take the most of the technique out that you can possibly can. So it's more pure about the vibe or feeling that you're having or something that you're trying to bring across. And I think it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what your what type of gear you use to do that. It's and I'm really interested in that idea to narrow it down even further. I also have the idea that, for example, some bands they are produced more electronic than electronic music. Like the way you produce a band is takes a lot more electronics than you could do, and you could do electronic music like on Fruity Loops on your laptop on the couch.
Mm.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same as with how I must say Albert and I were in working together in the Willem II studios 2 weeks ago, which is a place in the south of Holland, and they have 2 rooms there. One is with all testing equipment, and the other room is with a bunch of classic synths, one of which is the mighty ARP 2500. But both Albert and me, you know, don't really know that studio. Albert has worked there before and knows some of it, but not all. But it is like working in a place that you don't know your way around in. So you don't have, well, you have a clue how it's supposed to work, but there's really no knowledge at all. So
No,
basically,
especially the measuring equipment, this 50s and 60s room.
yeah, exactly. And so basically, you work with a you almost work with your hands tied behind your back. in a way that makes you try harder or go with the things you are able to do, and then just make the best out of it, and so that limitation can be very productive.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I so can imagine that, because when I just came here, I really thought like, because I needed to find my spot again, how to make music. So I just put like all my gear on the table, and I just started to play sort of live again. And then I was like, I'm so sick of using my gear now. So I just take like a MIDI keyboard and I just dive in all the plugins I had, and I never really dive into it anymore. And I was so limited, and I just was working on the kitchen table here, and I was like, oh, what a relief, actually, I'm just like so narrow into sound designing, and like, yeah, can be work really good.
Let's get ready, Nadia. What did you what were the plugins that you
What do you
used?
think?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well actually I'm a big fan of Omnisphere because it's such a soundscapey plugin, and the sound is so good, and you can really fine tune it in your way. And I just saw like the Iris 2 from Isotope, and you can like put your sample in it. You can I'm field recording a lot here actually, because there are so many nice sounds and stuff. And you can just layer in that plugin. You can layer that sound with 4 different sounds, and then I don't know if any of you ever used Photoshop, but it's really visual, and you can just click on little fragments in that audio, and then layer it on 4 different sounds, and it becomes like a whole new soundscape. And I was just diving into that, and I was like, "Wow, this is
That
awesome!"
sounds cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a granular synth or something?
No,
With Isotope?
I don't know. I have to look that up. I think not actually, but I will share it with you. It's really cool actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sounds like something in between a wavetable and a granular synth, like.
Yeah, yes. I think it was like a sort of little mix, because you could tweak so much too, and also in the waveforms. So yeah.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah, really awesome.
I
Yeah,
like
but
granular
it's
synth a lot.
what?
I like this granular synthesis a lot. I like that idea, and I'd like to try different plugins that have that technique. Yeah, I'm also recording a lot of acoustic instruments, like in them balls as well. I recorded Nina actually that you had on a different hangout on a piano that we prepared together. So we did this like modern classical preparing of the piano, and then recording the separate notes and recording chords. And I'm using all that material in a granular synth. And it's a very vibrant and dynamic material. It's very nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, very simple.
Yeah, wow.
So
Yeah.
what sounds are you picking up there, which you didn't pick up in Holland?
Oh,
Do
here,
you go
well,
into nature, or are you going to nature, or is it mechanical sounds? What is it?
actually, the first time when I was here, because I work with Ableton quite like close, and I came here and I had a sort of I wanted to do a sort of lesson, and it was because everybody was in lockdown and we had to stay at home, and I thought like, wow, it's actually a really nice lesson to just capture all the sounds from your room, because we are so distracted the whole time. But what do you hear really in your room? Like every sound you actually can use, which you hear. So first I was like recording all the sounds in my room, so it's not actually so different than Holland. But and then I just told the students like, I just make a track out of just only audio files.
Yeah.
And just warp it and what you want to do with it. And then, well, actually the most amazing sounds I hear are the bird sounds. It's just so nice. It's just like I'm like living on a little island, and I hear I just stand up and I hear like those crazy bird sounds. It's so awesome.
It's very
Yeah.
spatial too. I like that with bird sounds. It gives a
Yeah.
big sense of space. Also, in actually, if you layer it with your music, I guess it gives a lot of depth to the material.
Yeah.
Have you
And
tried
also,
slowing down bird sounds? Some of them are insanely complex. Yeah, but some of them are really complex. You know, really
Yeah.
like crazy sequences or.
Yeah.
oh, I should try that actually. I actually made it
Yeah.
very reverby, you know, like I really
Okay.
like the spacious sounds and
The Jurassic Park style.
yeah. Well, this is really funny. I say that the whole time here. Sometimes it feels a bit here like that, Jurassic Park. Yeah. What are you using the most now, Jochem?
Here in the studio.
Yeah.
Well, it's something different every week, to be honest now, because we do these streamings every Sunday, which are basically live improvisations. Albert has been here for one, and basically all the guests arrive with some pieces of gear they're familiar with, and some people prepare something, some just leave it up to the moment, and then I build a setup around their setup to complement it in a way.
That's cool.
And so it can be anything, but usually there are just machines that are very easily controllable, like the classic ones, like the 909, 101. What else do I use? Octatrack, mixer, some pedals, just stuff that you can control very easily and improvise with on the fly. And but yeah, still very small controllable setups.
Yeah.
And
How long are this session going for?
I think the shortest ones are probably 2 hours, and the longer ones are 3 to 4 hours. And it's been amazing, to be honest. I mean,
That's cool.
yeah, it's a really nice experience to make music like this with people every week. I learn a lot from it, and it's a very rewarding thing, because it's really like nobody knows what's going to happen, and we meet here in the afternoon, just install the gear, make a setup, and then just noodle around for a little bit. Then we go for some food, and we come back, we press start, and that's it. So there's nothing.
That's so cool.
No
And it's
rehearsals.
streamed live?
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah. That's cool.
And so far it hasn't gone wrong. there have been moments where it's less interesting than you would want, but there are some really amazing moments as well, which is what I love about playing live. It needs to be dangerous in some way. You have to hear that people are actually trying to come up with something and rescue a situation, or that's the rewarding thing about it.
I would love to be in Rotterdam right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been cool. I mean, and the cool thing is everybody approaches it in a different way. So everybody arrives with a certain idea, and then once we start playing together, most of the preparations that they would have done are left or go out of the window partly, because for some reason new things always come up, and it's I never have the feeling this is going to be terrible. You know what I mean? But it is risky, but I like that about this project.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you also press it on vinyl then, or is it just only the stream?
Well, not these sessions, but I don't know. There's so much material now. Maybe I'll archive some of it, because there have been some things that are pretty unique and unexpected. So yeah, maybe we'll do something with it down the line. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, how was it with Jeroen last Sunday? I saw he actually got this 101 that Beringer made recently. I'm
Yeah,
really
Jeroen
curious
used
how that one sounds.
Jeroen used that. Yeah, I checked it out. It sounds pretty much like the. It sounds kind of true to the original,
Mm,
if that's what people want from it. But it's a nice synth. You know, it's the same. It's the
very
same
hands-on.
immediacy. Yeah, it's just 101 is a 101, and you know,
Mhm.
it's very
Yeah.
immediate. You know, it takes almost nothing to learn it, and it's incredibly versatile.
Yeah,
I don't know how they did it, but it's still one of my favorite synths ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had it. I had the original 101 in my setup. You can see it right there
yeah,
behind me,
the
the
red
red one.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, with working with Jeroen was absolutely amazing. He's such a master in coming up with lines from his synths all the time. It's just bang, 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 bang. You know, new things happening all the time, and the synergy was really good as well. We went through all kinds of dynamics, and ended up playing for 3 hours, which was great.
Whoa,
Wow.
nice one.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
yeah. Check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to
I
catch
haven't
up.
seen the whole thing yet.
Okay.
Not me neither. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeroen is great. I mean, he's so used to playing live, and his whole work ethic is like that since the beginning. He basically records all his music live. So
Wow.
so
Yeah,
he's a master of improvising.
yeah, he never
Yeah,
edits afterwards.
No, it's what at least what he told me about it is that he just creates something, and when it's good, it's finished
Yeah,
after the recording,
that's
and
so funny.
when it's not good, it's he ditches it, and that's it. You know, it's only one criterion: does it stick or not?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
no endless editing or no touching it up or trying to rescue things because
Mhm.
yeah, very
Rescue
Yeah.
good.
things. I like that.
Yeah, we had Tony Surgeon on last week, and he told me or told everybody that that's one of his main processes. Just record something very quickly, very quick and dirty, and then try to touch it up and rescue it afterwards, and try to make something to kind of enhance it or whatever. That's also a way to do it, I guess. As
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
as the basically all these the people who are explaining their process, a lot of the times it's there's less magic behind it than you think.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's like committing something quickly and just go with it or
Yeah.
ditch it.
Well,
I even like that there's sometimes a fault in it or something, that you hear like, oh,
Oh
this
yeah.
went wrong, but it's so
Mm.
you will keep that in your head always, like, oh yeah, that fault, it's actually a really good part,
Mm.
I also like the idea of breaking things. I also saw you do that, Jochem, in Den Bosch, where you come in and you give something like it feedbacks, and then you turn it back until it doesn't do that, but just yeah, it's just a fraction
Mm.
of it not doing that. And I like the idea of breaking things first and then turning it back so it's almost breaking, but it doesn't, and that gives a nice friction to everything. And I always had a different approach where I would turn something up, like I would go from the other way. So it's nice to go over, like break all the borders and then come back instead of just moving up towards breaking something.
I
I,
think
li- uh,
what you had heard me doing was not really trying to break it, but just to find the limits of something. If you encounter a new piece of gear, it's my first reaction is see how far I can push it, you know, and see where I can make it do before it really trips out or becomes out of control, or gets out of control. And so as soon as you know where that limit is or where that border is, you can choose to go over it or to keep it just under or to not use it at all. But at least you know where it is, and you kind of get the impression about the range of the instrument. You know what I mean?
yeah, No, it's a nice idea, I think, to not be too timid, just to find that border straight away, and
Yeah,
then
just wank it.
yeah, yeah,
Go for it.
exactly. Because yeah, the stuff doesn't break that easily. It's nice to like hear feedback and
Speakers do though.
find.
Speakers do. I blew up
Yeah, I mean,
a
yeah,
fair share of speakers in my life, but
yeah, okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see how our people. We're again this week totally ignoring the people in the comments. Sorry,
Yeah,
people.
that's true.
Hey, you're all still here.
Can you? Oh, we can scroll back. That's good.
Right.
Let's see if there's anybody asking any interesting things.
Maybe we can just ask if somebody have questions.
Yeah. Start over. It's okay because it's hard
Anybody?
to. Yeah. It's hard to pick them out now because it's going
Yeah.
quite fast.
Yeah.
Um,
It starts to be interesting. Yes, I agree. Feedback is not a limit. It's where it starts to be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think that a good 30-40% of my whole sound database in my studio, it's recordings of feedback. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I also worked a
Yeah.
lot with doing MIDI to sound and then sound back to MIDI in the same sort of patch, so it roots. It's a lot
Aha.
sort of a machine.
Interesting.
It's very simple and
But it
like
it's like never ending. Like it's like self-generative kind of, no?
yeah. So it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can sit back and I have a lot of like large recordings of that. I really enjoy trying to do that type of thing. Or also in Ableton, it's pretty easy to route something to the sends and returns, and then route those signals to each other. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's very nice material that you get too, I think.
in Ableton, though, it's or in any digital environment, it's the trying to find that border is more dangerous because there's no saturation going on, unless you introduce it in the chain. But it's either all or nothing. And on analog gear, I find it more controllable, or you get more room to around this particular line where it gets out of control.
Yeah. Well, for sure, because like in the digital realm, that often becomes a very plain digital distortion. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah, but it also happens quicker. It's
yeah. There is
one notch
less of
will
a
be
yeah. There is less of a. It's an exponential, let's say, instead of being a linear growth. You know, like, but yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Let's make a check to have advantages.
Do you have a clear idea in advance when you make something, or is it based on something, a feeling of the moment? Nadia.
Take it away. Actually, I never have an idea because everything what I do is coming from my emotions. And but what I do experience is when I don't do anything, like if I don't experience something in life, it's for me harder to create music because actually all the music I make it's a sort of diary. And like what we just talked about the one takes, I often work like that as well. I don't really change or tweak a lot. I just think, oh, this is it. This is what I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And sometimes I only like in the technical way, if I with arrangement or like the mix down, I just tweak a bit, but not a lot. But mostly I just go where my emotions are leading me. But I mostly start with a like a synth or like a background feeling, and then the drums maybe come later or not. Yeah.
When we work together, I noticed you are one of the most intuitive producers I know. It's like it's all coming really naturally, and I have no idea where it comes from, but you completely zone out when you touch when you're on a synth or on a machine. It's like if you disappear, you go with it for like half an hour, and you don't look around, you don't talk. It's just all very much direct from your intuition into the end result. There's no thinking behind it. It seems to come very
No,
naturally. Yeah.
I think it's just like what I always say, and it's really funny because I was watching lately Hans Zimmer, his masterclass, and he was telling actually about the same thing I experienced myself. Is that it's my main language. I do like even talking in words. It's not covering what I feel. So like music and it's like a conversation I have, and it feels so natural. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hans
cool.
Zimmer. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
are you watching that masterclass?
Yeah, I'm still not.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it yet, but it's
Uh-huh.
really interesting. It's
Is
really
it?
also
Yeah.
the basics of like what music is probably about. Of course, you have different aspects. You can also be very technical or whatever,
Uh-huh.
but mainly it's a real conversation you have. You know, it's like you have a question and mostly you have a sort of answer.
Yeah.
Um, it always makes a sort of sense. Even
Mm.
sometimes it doesn't sound like it makes sense.
Mm.
But yeah, how is that with you guys? Are you having an idea or do you just also just go intuitive?
Hans, if you're reading this, this is what Sander is putting in the comments on. Hey Hans, come on the Nocturnalist, dude.
Hey, Hans.
You're invited. I would love to talk to him actually. That would
Oh.
be
Oh
good.
yeah. Yeah.
He's got a
Hans.
monster ass studio. This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some pictures. It's like what? Like it's like a. I think the living room is quite impressive, and it's like made out of synths, pretty
I
much.
don't know much about him. Of course, he's the famous Hollywood scoring guy. But one thing I've seen a few bits and bobs from him talking about it, and he always talks about the story, which I think he's completely right about. You know,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, the music, making music is basically telling a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly like, for example, I don't know if I have I don't like sit down with an idea of what I want to do, but surely I always having like a list of frame concept, let's say once again
Starting points.
smaller
Ah.
field where I have to move. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move in this box, and I just want to stay in this box. I can do everything I want, but in this box. You know what I mean? Like, and that is very productive for me. If I don't have the box, it's too random. You know?
Ah.
Yeah.
Is that box sound or a feeling or a visual or
It's I'm not sure how to describe it. I think it's something in between those. It's really hard to put it in words, to be honest. Like I like sometimes there's like this Carl Gustav Jung. It's like a really amazing psychotherapist from the early 20th century, which like describe it very well. It talks about like archetypes. You know that I can relate so much in music about those. It's like archetypical ideas that are like something in between an idea of a sound, idea of the instruments you want to use, an idea of the structure, an idea of like the the bigger frame you want to put that track in and stuff, like, you know, like I don't know how it's really almost like originary level of ideas, like, you know what I mean? And that's the most precious thing to me. Like the rest, it feels like I can be good at feeling that, but that is still feeling something that is more precious than the filler, you know what I mean? Like, and
So yeah,
it's a
you set yourself a frame. That's basically what you do.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Ah.
that's a bit, you know, before when we were talking about that, maybe this describes a bit better when you were asking me, Joachim, like, what is that I mean when I hear, like, I don't know, early albums of Outtaker and stuff, like Amber and stuff. Like, it's just that is so clear, that frame still, like, you know what I mean? Then it's field, but the frame is so clear, so I don't know, so present, you know, that is really a guidance even for the listener. You know what I mean? It's
Focused, you
like,
mean?
yeah, focus. Yes, something like you can call it focus. Yes, yeah, yeah.
What about you, Albert? Because I have the feeling you also are using experiment as a starting point and be kind of scientific about it, and then
Yeah,
go with
for these
yeah.
random things. But I think usually what Lucy was just saying, I have the same feeling, but it also comes together in I should sit down to do music, and it's sometimes a few weeks I don't do anything, and then a few weeks I have this bubble of just it's like I have to poo, you know, but it's but it's music.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, and that is together with a sort of vibe, and then I try to go. For me, my music is not really a story; it's just like a physical or abstract place. So I'm not. It's also not traveling. It's just a one abstract space or place where I would like to be, and it's also therapeutic in a way. So I'm trying to create an abstract space where I would like to be,
Yeah.
and yeah. And it's very the rest is very intuitive. So I know that I should sit down to do music, and then I have the feeling of each new step, but I don't have the whole plan laid out. I just know the next
Yeah.
step until I have the feeling it's the last step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're approaching the area where language or spoken or words that you can speak are
Yeah.
breaking down, and it's all emotion
Yeah.
or imagination, because that's indeed what takes over at some point during the process.
Yeah.
You can explain yourself you can explain what you're doing to death, but at some point it becomes something that you no longer can put in words, but becomes
Yeah.
a message altogether, but unexplainable in language, but more in abstract things,
Yeah,
or
and
in feelings or emotions,
Yeah.
whatever.
Joachim, you make me think about like that. For example, if I'm alone, keeping that clear, let's say, wordable frame, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But every time, for example, we sat down together, me and you, Joachim, to work on the Zeitgeber stuff, it's completely different because it's like it gets to the place where we really don't speak before, after, during. It's like the only thing we speak is like, what pizza do you want? That's like, but for the
No,
rest, it's
true,
like
true. And
it's
when it
like
does,
it's only this like very vague but pretty
exactly.
precise emotional space. In the end, it's still a very precise one, even if you can't word it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
agree.
still very
Yeah.
precise.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a really strange area, and it's an
Yeah.
area I feel very comfortable in, to be honest. But yeah, like you said, the words don't even really describe
Yeah.
the thing you want to convey, but it just kind of vaguely points in a direction, and then
Yeah.
both people who are working together from intuition understand where it's going, because you say it in the context of what's already going on. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
name a certain, if you use a certain word or a certain description of what you are thinking, what should happen next, or where you should take it, it comes across as very logical. But if you would be there as a bystander listening to this conversation, it would be absolutely gibberish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works so
But
good together.
Yeah. To be honest, if you think about it, it's a little bit of a signature of the musical world in general, because even when you speak about, I don't know, very academic, like classical music to very trained people, things can go very quickly into a completely abstract realm.
Yeah, like
It's
philosophy.
like I don't know, but philosophy brought to such an extreme level that it's in between philosophy and pure mathematics. That is like, yeah, this makes sense, but it's still like you're speaking about like 7 intelligible symbols one after another. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah.
I think it's really something that puts it together, and somehow that is what. Maybe it's not so much about like underground and mainstream, what's cool and what's not, but it's what like keep this straight or not, you know what I mean, like, or let's say sell it for the sake of simplicity, you know what I mean, sell it for let's say pack it up so that it's I don't know, how can I explain it, it's like interesting music for me is music that makes me feel feelings like, but that are, let's say, it's like discovering, experiencing something, you know what I mean. Less interesting music is when that it's a typical thing of mainstream pop music. It's like it's almost like the music wants to tell you, like, I explain you what sadness sounds like instead of making me feel sadness, you know what I mean, or joy. Like it's like a
it's maybe a bit more superficial.
Yeah, it's
Or
like a
too
little
literal,
bit
too
of
literal.
too literal, too forceful, let's say, too like sadness must sound like this. Even to me, when we speak about Hans Zimmer, you know what I mean? Of course, it's like a crazy good job, but it's still very pre-packed emotional systems, you know what I mean? In my opinion.
It
like,
has to communicate
But
with
I
a lot
think
of people.
also,
Yeah, exactly. That's the task.
I think it's also really, right. That's what I wanted to say. That I think that it's so based on the general emotions, you know, what you can have, and I think they have to work also in this sort of frame how the most of the people will feel it, and because I also heard like a lot of people with classical music or something like, and then the music maybe I make or whatever, it's like, oh, but this is for me really easy. Well, if I listen to classic, that's what I feel the most. So it's maybe even a layer deeper. So it's I think it varies so much between people how much they feel and what they feel.
Yeah, I think what all the people are doing music like we do have in common is that we almost deliberately half explain what we are doing when we release something and leave up a lot of room for the imagination of the listener. It can be interpreted in many ways. It's like you plant a little seed in people's brain with what you have made, and then the rest of the story is made up in the mind of the people who experience it. I think, you know, that's a lot less literal than what Lucy just said about music, which has a very singular story, which has a very defined purpose or story. There's less room for imagination. You can still kind of zone out on it or dream away by it by listening to it, but I think with the kind of music we are doing, which is sort of more abstract and less dominating the direction, I guess. And it's hard to put into words again, but
but it's funny. I think there's like an example that is not strictly about music that can make it super clear, this feeling. And it's something that I remember this very important talk once I had about artworks with Ignacio, my brother, that is the person that always took care of the label artworks. And at some point I remember, like, I was about to finish an album and my idea of it was so clear, you know. I had the whole thing. I was like, I got it. This has to be the architecture and this is the idea behind it and the message I want to send and blah, 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 blah. And when I approached him as the artwork the person, I was like, yeah, so it has to express this and this and that. And he come out with this image that like at the beginning I had nothing to do with what I was speaking about immediately. And I was like, why this? And he was like, because you have to live like the room. If you're too narrative about things, you're restricting so much the power of your music as well. You know what I mean? Like the endlessness of it. It's like, I don't know, once again, trying to explain you how you should feel listening to my music instead of letting you feel it. You know what I mean?
It's usually bad art that does that, I think.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. And I also don't like this academic, if academics or usually classically trained musicians have this approach, and it gets dry really fast, and I think it's very unsexy usually.
Unsexy.
Yeah, it gets so dry so fast, and it's so analytical that it's even hard for them to do original music because they're so analytical, and they are so trained. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean that it
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but it can be an exercise to move in that domain, to move around in that domain. It's more of an intellectual exercise than
Yeah.
an
that's it.
expression of feeling, you know.
Sorry, Joachim, can you highlight that sentence?
What's that?
Some some EDM, put your hands in the air music is so emotional, it makes me cry.
I can't find it now.
It's somewhere in the chat, never
Okay.
mind. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see if there are any other
Questions.
interesting. It's going so fast.
Yeah.
I'm
we
going to
go.
check if it will be light again here.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yes.
It's
Look
Oh
at that.
yeah, look at
sunrise.
that.
Yay.
Wow. Nadia, we really appreciate your efforts here. Like
Exactly.
you woke up
Yeah, that's what I
very
wanted to
early.
hear.
Yes.
Yeah, must be
Thank
really strange for you to get up in almost the middle of the night, or
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels
So-
a bit like music life again.
yeah. Okay.
Yes. Why did you actually move to Australia? Like it's
Love.
funny. There you go. Yes.
Love.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That's the best reason. Yeah, that's the best answer.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's really good so far. So I'm really happy. But what I said before to Jochem, I really miss a bit my music bubble in Europe. So, but I think it's changed. It changed anyway. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So with all the stuff that is starting to happen here now, what Luca just talked about, and Albert and me playing tomorrow, is there anything in Sydney coming back to life, or is it still pretty much all
Well,
locked down?
to be really honest, like it is already quite hard here, the scene, because like they cut a lot of the hours, so the clubs couldn't go open for a longer time, and
Yeah,
also,
remember
like,
there has
the-
been a whole war about this for a while,
Yes.
and then COVID came
Yeah.
and was like the last, like
yeah, it was. It's like slaughtered.
yeah.
But I feel like the promoters are a bit, how you say that? They are really careful, like in how the way they book people, and also because of the money, of course. And now I think it's even a bigger hit for them. So I think it will take a while until things will start up here again. But yeah, so for my feeling, the situation doesn't really look that good.
No, but I mean, like maybe small things in galleries or seated concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's like even, I think Melbourne Music Week is coming. Maybe we're trying to do something there if possible. But now
And
it's
it's
in
still,
lockdown, so
Yeah. But
Yeah.
is it theoretically still happening?
I am not sure.
Yeah.
I think like here in Sydney, I think things are opening up again, but it's the same in Holland. You need to sit down, and I think you can't really dance or something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But also for what I know, also in Netherlands, they are really not very sure when things will.
Yeah, true.
No, the next time when they will reconsider what's going to happen is the 1st of September or the end of August. So
Oh,
until
it
then,
takes a while.
yeah, until then nothing is going to change. I'm afraid.
That's
but-
sad. But
yeah, so it's but I do like the opportunity to do the sort of seated things right now.
Yeah.
It's a nice change, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me too.
Yes.
So
More
what are we gonna
ambient.
do? What are we gonna do, Albert? We haven't. We don't have any time together to practice, but I'm sure it's gonna be all right.
Yeah, I think it's like the set we did in Rotterdam. It's nice to improvise, and I guess it's nice to keep it abstract.
It's only an hour though.
Yeah, I think you'll really notice, for example, if you tweak a filter on a sound and you see the changes in the light, it feels like you're controlling the lights too.
Mm.
And doing these simple things will be a nice thing to try out, I think. It's nice. It's sort of you're tweaking the audio and the lights together,
Mm.
and that's a nice feeling.
Yeah, you've done it before, right?
Yeah, we did a big project here,
Yeah.
and I'd like to do more with them. Also, maybe in combination with video. So then it would be video and sort of ambient light, like the room would also light up together with the live video that's projected.
So technically, it's basically you put your setup on the stage. You build a little system that you can improvise with, and then all the different channels in the audio get split and run separately to the lighting system. So they all have different signals they can use.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, so I really like that. I mean, the good thing is though that it's still a performance system for the people who are running the lights, because only audio reaction is a bit. It's like big VU meters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
it sort of works like that in. I think the point we're trying to make
Well,
with the project is
technically,
also
yes, technically, but yeah, in the end, both the musician and the light performer will sort of act together in an improvised setting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think there's a lot of improvement that still can be done in that field in clubbing, where like visual artists and the light artists are all in their separate little islands. And it's weird that, for example, like Lucy said, Autechre wanted the spaces to be black when they are playing. I think it's really hard when I did, for example, a video show somewhere and I was asking the light guys, yeah, so we built this and I really like the lights to be blue this evening because it's the whole style of the video, so it makes sense. Can we
Yeah.
please do just a stroboscope and smoke and more of a blue theme in the lighting? It's really, really hard to do that. I had those conversations so often, and it's so weird that you can't even like have agreement about the color of the light. So everybody is so much on their own island that they don't want to like help each other, and I think that's crazy weird because there's so much technology and it's so easy to link like that, even data from a CDJ to the light guys. There's so much info coming from that network cable from a CDJ for the so much info from the track that's so usable for a light person, and it never happens. And there's all these simple technological things that you can do that don't happen, and that's why we're trying to do projects like this to make it more obvious what you can do with a combination with audio and light, for example.
Cool. Very cool. So you will make a video or you film it or no?
Yeah, you have a friend shooting a video of the live set, but it's not a live stream.
Yeah. That's really cool though.
Cool.
Right. We are almost hitting the 2-hour mark, people. But I see this one thing that could be a discussion for the next half hour. But I do want to bring it into the conversation. Again, from Synchrotron. Where does your heart sit the most, in the studio or in a club?
Tricky
I
one.
think I
Be a
can
long one.
choose.
Yeah.
Decide there. Yeah. It's like, to me, like the club thing is like a social translation of what's going on in the studio. So, yeah.
Oh,
Which
that's
is a
smart.
very which is a very solipsistic experience instead, you know. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference, I could never choose between the two, to be honest. And with club, I mean every encounter with a live audience. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a club or the clubbing experience. But performing live is very, very immediate. So you get like an instant communication between the performer and the audience, and that creates an energy that is very unique. You can never get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And in the studio, things are more or less non-real time. You have time to think about things and to go back to things and refine things. It's in other words, it's not immediate. It's a slowly building process.
Yeah.
And both have their charms. You know, you can be in the studio and get really detailed with building something. You know, having building blocks and stack everything together, keep changing it, and kind of sculpt things. I would say in the studio is more sculpting. A sculpting process, and playing live is an instant event.
It's an exchange.
Yeah, it's an exchange. It's an event. It's a change. Exchange. Yes. What do you think, Nat?
I think the same.
Okay.
I have like I think if I really need to choose, you know, like in the end, then I would choose studio time, because I'm like, my heart is always there, and but I really like the combination. Yeah, it's just a perfect combination.
Yeah, I can't choose really. Yeah,
No.
it's really.
Yeah, me too. It seems like the same thing, like both ends of the same thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
What do you think? Is there anybody who has something to ask us, or any interesting new subject? I want to see your daylight, Nadia. It's peeking through the window.
Sorry, Vinny.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No, I thought. I mean, we're all in the dark here. You know, sun is down.
Oh yeah.
Seeing some sunlight is nice. Anyway, yeah, I should do like this housekeeping shout out that I do every week. We have this Discord server where we have a growing community of producers and music enthusiasts, and we invite you to be there, to move there after this chat, because I'll be there. Maybe some of the other guests in this chat will be, so we can continue the party. It's called the Twiddlers Hangout After. So yeah, feel free to come by and hang out some more. And I think yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday, man, Albert. Really
Me
looking
too.
forward to it. Yeah. Shall we call it a night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Morning, night.
Yeah.
Shall we call it a morning?
Call it a morning.
Back to bed.
Okay.
Midday? Noon?
Okay, so thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for the people in the chat, and see you next time.
Thank you, Joachim. See you
Ciao,
soon.
ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank
Ciao.
you. Bye.